So this is the start of a little girl's mermaid themed, you know, secretly a mermaid, sea life's beauty, mermaid hair, don't care type of quilt. These, let's see, these fabrics I got just the other day from a wonderful shop, Beyond Fabric, down in Kingsland, Georgia. Prior to that, I had visited them and got multiple of these panels. So I'm not 100% sure yet if this video is only going to feature one quilt or if it'll feature multiple. We'll see at the end. These solids I did pull from Stash. I don't know if I'll use them or not, but they're there. They're, you know, in bits and pieces. Well, you can't even see her hat, but they're in bits and pieces of the quilt panels. And so I do want them out just in case. You never know. So again, this is one of my fumbling and mumbling videos. It'll be a complete surprise at the end because I have no plans. Like, it's kind of scary. I did go through, I have paint chips. And even though I don't have this large panel, I do have multiple squares. So I could play with this, you know, using the pattern as a base and then working with what I have to make it my own. So this is a possibility. If I put the squares here, I ran these fun, cute little paint chip type of blocks using all of these guys. Another thought that I had, here's another one. Don't mind it being copied. I like to write on them. And by doing this, I can write and scribble and save the cards for later. So this one uses panel squares again. I do have a bolt of white on white that has seahorses. So that'll be, you know, what I use as background for any of these anyways. And then these fun prints or these solids could be the borders. So that is an option. And then, of course, going through any of, you know, 3-yard quilt patterns, I just have to measure out the squares and then measure out what's here. I mean, previously I did this one, which with a panel, which could be fun. I could totally see the mermaid blocks there and then work with more on the solids. Use the white on white where that light color is and then have fun with these. There's options. I do have to dig through my patterns and figure something out. But this is just a start, and if you stick around and join me for the ride, I'd appreciate it. Okay, I figured it out. So this video will definitely contain a quilt using this first panel, my handy dandy 8.5-inch square. It will cut off some of the blue, but that is going to be okay. With that 1/4 inch, I will get roughly 1/8 of an inch of the blue showing, because if I went all the way to the white, I don't have an 8.5-inch square. Let's see if I can show that better. If I went all the way to the white with the 1/4 inch on the blue, I wouldn't have an 8.5-inch square. So I actually need to pivot it, leave some blue showing, and then use my seam allowance. So using this lovely ruler and using this free pattern from Fat Quarter Shop, it's one of their shortcut quilts in their quilt series. They're fantastic. They will it's printable, it's free, it's PDFs. But what I like about them is they'll show you this basic one, and then you can print out different sizes if they offer them, like a twin or a queen. So for this one, it's layer cake loop, and it's 4 pieces to create a block, starting with A. A is an 8.5. So from there, I need 2 B's and a C in 3 different prints. So I'm definitely going to use these guys because of all this white background on these blocks. These colors are just going to be fantastic. I don't know if I'm going to throw in any of the solids, to be honest. Because I don't want the solids to kind of just stand out there and be like, hi, I'm gold and I'm just standing here. Right? Because it's not going to be touching like in, you know what I mean. So I think for this one, I'll do 1 panel with the prints. With this, I'm going to start it off as a 48.5 by 48.5. I might play around and see if I can grow it by making extra squares with this guy, or because, you know, just for kicks, I have a mermaid line in a junior layer cake, which is only 20 instead of 40. It is not the same manufacturer, it is not the same designer, but it must have been the season for mermaids that year. So palette wise, it could work. Right? There's the blues and the greens and the pinks, even the whites. So depending on if I need extra squares, or depending on if I do want to grow it, maybe into like a 48 by 60, which I think would be a nice size. So I would need a whole extra row, which means I would need 4 more blocks. I can make them out of these, toss them in there somewhere. So hang on tight and I will come on back. All the panel squares have been cut. So there was only 12. The pattern calls for 16, and then I want to grow that extra row. So I needed a total of 8 more. And I went through that little half a layer cake and pulled out the whites and the blues that matched. So now I'm up to 20. Then on, I want to say step B, but it's not. On fabric B or cut B, I was using those coordinate pieces, but then I'm realizing since I'm growing it, it's going to be a lot of repetitive. So after doing the math, I need 48 of these guys and 20 squares at some point as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just, I don't know, maybe because I had 6 fabrics, 48 divided by 6, I think it was like 7.3, you know, or whatever of each one. So I'm going to cut like 4 of each, possibly 5 of each because of the odd number thingy, you know, make sure I move around. I don't mind double stacking. So I just, after starching the fat quarters and the half yards, I just double stacked it, used my super long ruler, cut a strip, and then subcut to the size that I need. And then I was thinking I will go ahead and go through the rest of that the rest of that layer cake and cut out just random non-blue and white, right? I'm not going to mess with those colors anymore because those are the panel squares. I'll go through with the pinks, the greens, the corals, and cut the remaining pieces that I need out of here to give it a little bit more variety. So I might have to, after cutting all these guys up, I might have to dig through the scrap bin just for a little bit more fun and variety. And depending on what that small square cut is, I might throw some of these in there. So this was a tile that I had picked up, hoping to use it with these multiple mermaid panels and the multiple, the boy ones that I showed in a different video. I was thinking boy, girl because of all the corals. And I think that that might work. On those 4, yeah, on the 20 little guys, maybe I'll just go ahead and cut out. Even both of them could work. Gotta make do here. I am traditionally a scrappy quilter. So I don't mind mixing and matching. But if that was next to that, to me it works. And if it's next to that, it still works. Right? The octopus is super cute. I mean, color-wise, I'm drawn to that, but he still works due to all the other colors. So, slight change of plans. We'll go ahead and cut some of these out too. So, comes to find out, my math was not mathing very well, and my numbers were incorrect. But in the end, I figured it out. So, I needed 20 of the 8.5-inch squares. I ended up only needing 40 of these guys and 20 of these guys. And I didn't get any, recording done of the actual cutting. But give me just a second. I'll put you on the design wall. So here she is. I am leaving this one where the mermaids and the words are all going up, right? They're staying in the same direction. But all the bits and pieces, I'm letting those toss and turn a little bit. I'm trying really hard not to keep moving everything. You can't even see the bottom row. It's a hot mess down there. I know that those darker pinks are pretty dark. And I know that those greens are kind of bright. But I like them in there. I'm just worried that if I keep moving it around, then I'm going to drive myself crazy. So I have to kind of let go at this moment. So you'll see here, I did bring in those tiles. I absolutely love them. And I actually was able to cut some pieces out of the border that was built into the panels. Let's see. So there's another tile up there. And we're going to scan over and you'll see another piece of that flag border. I love it. I really do. I like those extra teal and white blocks that I was able to toss in. There's a slight pattern to the placements. Any two of the large squares that ended up touching on the corner, for example, these two touched, so I made sure that they were those panels. These two are touching, so those are those panels. Same here, these two are touching. The ones that were left as singles do not have, they're just the single random ones that were thrown in there for the correct head count. And that is how I was able to lay out the 12 and the 8. It gave me a starting point. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing them up. I am going to do it by their block. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. The focus wanted to find my finger. Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do each of those blocks and then I'll connect that row and then follow suit with row 2 and row 3. It's really fun. If you ever want to try this pattern, I think it's a great one weekend type of pattern. Unless you're like me and now you're on like day 5 because you haven't been in the sewing room forever. Alrighty. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. It's a 48 by 60, no borders. I won't add any. I'm also just going to leave it with a plain white muslin backing. Thanks so much for watching. A like, a comment, a subscribe is always appreciated.